What's up, Ocean? You got Matt here. Today I'm bringing you a guide on how to use Baxcalibur in competitive Pokemon. This is the pseudo-legendary of the generation. It is absolutely crazy with an awesome type, really crazy stat distribution, and one of the best new moves in this generation. So if you're excited for the video, then leave a like on the video and help us reach our like goal of 100 likes. Comment your thoughts on Baxcalibur down in the comments below, as well as which Pokemon you want to see covered next. And of course, subscribe to the channel to help us reach our sub goal of 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We got about a month left. I know we can do it. Let's go ahead and jump on into it. Starting off with its stats, this Pokemon stat distribution is kind of crazy, but has one key area where it obviously struggles. Its HP is base 115, which is really bulky, and its attack stat at 145 is crazy. On top of that, its defense at 92, special attack 75, and 86 special defense are all passable. The issue is its speed. Its speed is a base 87, and that is neither good nor bad. It's fine. Honestly, in certain metagames, it's really going to hurt that it's either not slower or not faster. We either wish it had the 75 base speed that is its special attack, or the 115 speed that is its HP. If you can get that, that'd be great. But as a pseudo-legendary, it does have 600 base stat total all around. Also, by the way, before I continue, I want to give a big shout out to my buddy Tiger for helping me put together the doc I use for the discussion on Baxcalibur. It is really appreciated. His links are down in the description below. So thank you, Tiger. Really do appreciate it. Continuing on to its typing, this Pokemon is a dragon and ice type. So it has a couple of interesting weaknesses and very few resistances. Its typing defensively is kind of terrible, I'm not gonna lie. It is weak to fighting, rock, steel, dragon, and fairy, so 5 weaknesses, and it resists only 3 types in water, grass, and electric. That's really not that great, and it has no immunities either. In general, the typing is defensively terrible. Offensively, it's great, but defensively, it doesn't hit the way it needs to, which is a problem. It does have amazing abilities though, starting off with its signature ability being Thermal Exchange. This is an ability unique to Baxcalibur and its evolutionary line. Basically what this ability does is it boosts the attack of this Pokemon by 1 stage if it is hit by a fire type attack. It doesn't reduce the damage that fire types are going to be doing to you like Thick Fat would, and it doesn't give you an immunity like Flash Fire, but it just gives you that boost, which is really nice. And on top of that, it makes it so you can't actually be burnt, which is so valuable on a Pokemon that's an amazing Dragon Dance or Swords Dance sweeper like Baxcalibur. Really solid there. Its secondary ability is Ice Body, which recovers back 1/16 of its HP in the snowstorm. And is that really better than Thermal Exchange? No, definitely not. But does it have its usefulness on something like a Snow Team? It could. You get the +1 boost, or the boost rather, in your defensive stats, which is very valuable in the snowstorm because you are an ice type. But I do think that most of the time, like 95% of the time, Thermal Exchange is going to be the best ability to run on a Pokemon like Baxcalibur. Moving on to some notable moves here, the best moves on this Pokemon, we're going to talk about Glaive Rush being its signature move. This is essentially a 120 base power dragon type attack that is physical, amazing, but it has a pretty significant downside. The next turn, every single attack that would go towards you are going to be hitting for double damage, and they can't miss. Yeah, that's a pretty big downside. I think the whole point of this is to show that you're trying to get an OHKO and just win the game with this Pokemon, or better yet, you're going to be getting the KOs on this Pokemon or on opposing Pokemon before you can even be attacked. That's really the main thing. So is it a good move? Definitely, it is. Does it have a downside? Oh, absolutely. As for its Ice Stab, it has a couple of really strong options. Starting off with the physical side, we're looking at Icicle Crash. Very powerful move, has a chance to miss though, a little unfortunate. It also has access to Icicle Spear, which I think is the preferred ice move to run on a Pokemon like Baxcalibur to break through all the subs that we're seeing in a metagame like this. I think that Ice Shard priority is absolutely amazing. I love the pseudo-legendary dragons that have access to priority. I think it's so valuable and it really adds another dimension to a Pokemon like this, especially because this Pokemon does get Swords Dance, and it's really good so it doesn't have to use its pretty middling speed as effectively. It also has access to Freeze Dry, which is really solid for the average special attack that it has, depending on what you're going up against. Maybe you're going up against a physical wall that's a water type, and you're in Freeze Dry to break through it. That could definitely be a possibility. It also has access to Earthquake, which is really powerful coverage against a lot of the steel types that are going to be coming to resist your stab type attacks. It has access to Iron Head for fairy types, Thunder Fang for water types, and then Aqua Tail as well for, I guess, fire types in certain situations. And then finally, for set of moves, it has access to Dragon Dance and, of course, to Swords Dance. Really deadly over there. Then for teammates, let's talk about some of the best teammates for this Pokemon. We have, starting off with Chi-Yu. These Pokemon, they form a core together that forces in fairy type Pokemon to take the dark and dragon type attacks, and then they can punish them drastically with the ice and fire type attacks, which is really good. That also helps out with water types, but with the reverse, where water types are forced in by their ice and fire type attacks, and they're punished by the dragon and dark type attacks. I do think this pair is really good. They form a really nice combination with a decent speed tier as well. Then we have Iron Moth. Again, another decent speed tier overall with 110 on the Iron Moth. And then we have this Pokemon, which will allow you to help pressure the bulky water type Pokemon out there. And again, The fact that this thing has great coverage and it pairs really well with Baxcalibur because of that coverage is a big advantage compared to other Pokemon that you might pair Baxcalibur with. We then have Annihilate, one of the best Pokemon in the metagame. This Pokemon breaks past Steel type so effectively because it is an insane fighting type Pokemon, but it also, on top of that, is a fighting immunity for the Baxcalibur, which offers a lot of utility for it, and the fact that it gets U-turn as well means you don't have to always be running a set to freely bring in Baxcalibur with another Pokemon. You're able to force things out with the Annihilate and then get into the Baxcalibur to just run House. Then we have the Quackavall. I think Quackavall in general, being water and fighting, is really good. It's able to get basically a Moxie boost with a +1 boost in speed from Aqua Step, depending on the situation you're in. Having a good speed overall, base 85. It's a little clunky with the Baxcalibur, but in general, they kind of help each other's checks really, really effectively. I do like that in a Pokemon like Quackavall paired with Baxcalibur. We then have Skeledirge, the other starter Pokemon from this generation, being fire and a ghost type. This is a fairy resist. It is also a fighting immunity, which is really, really nice. They are both weak to rock. However, Skeledirge is super, super defensive, and with Unaware, it doesn't care if you get a Swords Dance setup. It can just burn you and then slack off the damage right after that. Go for Hexes, go for Torch Song, be annoying. I think that combination with the Baxcalibur to be able to burn opposing Pokemon and then set up with Baxcalibur is incredibly, incredibly useful. We then have Azumarill. Now, Azumarill is the best combination. No, but I do like it a lot because it is a dragon immunity that really pressures opposing fairy type Pokemon because of its huge power ability and powerful attacking moves like Play Rough, Knock Off, Liquidation, Aqua Jet, etc. Really solid there, and obviously the speed tier at base 50 is more on the slower side, but could be good in, again, certain situations. I think in VGC it makes a lot more sense to run the combination of Azumarill and Baxcalibur than in singles. As for other Pokemon, we're going to look at some Steel types now. Some Steel types that I think are really good are going to be Goldengo, because this Pokemon, it resists every single type that Baxcalibur is weak to, minus fighting because it's immune to it. So I think overall it's just a fantastic Pokemon to pair with it. The speed tier, again, is clunky, but that's what we're seeing right now. A lot of these mid-tier Pokemon or mid to high-tier Pokemon, their speed tiers are all very clunky, and that's a little unfortunate, but I do think that it's for the best because the combinations in terms of types are really, really good. We then have the next one being Iron Treads. This is the future form for Donphan. And speaking of which, there's a poll down in the comments below, which is going to be voting on which Pokemon you want to see me cover next. Is it going to be the Donphan forms, Great Tusk and Iron Treads, or is it going to be the Dark Quartet, the Chi-Yu, the Chien-Pao, the Wo-Shen, and the Ting-Lu? So make sure to vote in that poll down in the comments below. As I was saying for Iron Treads, the reason why this Pokemon is really good with Baxcalibur is because it's a great defensive partner. The fact that it's able to come in, take basically any hit for this Pokemon is really, really good. The main thing it won't take hits from are going to be the fighting type Pokemon, and that's why you get a really solid ghost type overall. Also, this Pokemon is 110 base speed to or like 105 base speed, around that range. It's fast is the main thing I'm trying to say, and provides a Volt Switch support as well. Now let's talk about some of the best Terra types for a Pokemon like Baxcalibur. And I think, in my opinion, the best Terra type to pair with Baxcalibur is going to be Electric. Why Electric though? Well, first of all, the fact that you don't share any common weaknesses between your original type of Ice and Dragon and Electric is valuable in its own right. But the most important thing about this is that it provides you with the Bolt Beam coverage. Absolutely critical. Bolt Beam, short for Thunderbolt, and Ice Beam is insane. The fact that you have an electric attack that are going to be only immune, or resisted rather, by the water types, or no, what I say water, by the ground types, and the electric type attacks, and of course by the grass type Pokemon, might be dragon types as well, there we go, and you have Ice then to hit all those types for super effective damage except for electric, is insanely valuable. Really one of the best combinations of types you can have for two types of attacks on a Pokemon. Extremely valuable, like I said. Then we have Dragon. Dragon is really good to get the extra boost on your Glaive Rush. It's going to be very, very powerful and can definitely decimate an entire roster if you manage to get up a Dragon Dance or a Swords Dance up. And then finally we have the Ghost type. I have this for a fighting immunity. I don't think it's as good as the other two types, but I do think it has enough merit to the point where I should be mentioning it on this video. Now let's talk about some items for this Pokemon. I think one of the best items on this Pokemon is going to be the Heavy Duty Boots, which makes obviously a lot of sense considering it is an Ice type that is weak to rocks. Not great, obviously, and you want to make sure you're staying healthy enough to set up. Since you can't be pressured out by burns, they're going to try to do damage to you as much as possible. I do think Boots makes a lot of sense. In the same vein, I think Life Orb is one of the better items to have as well. Getting that boost of 1.3 on your attack stats while being able to switch and remove is incredibly valuable, especially if you have whether it's a Dragon Dance or Swords Dance boost, or you want to go for something like the Ice Shards on things, or you just want to go for raw Glaive Rush. You want to do a lot of damage really quickly. Life Orb will help you do that. Then we have the Assault Vest. This Pokemon has again, the typing it has is not great, but it is not weak to too many types, and because of that, you're able to resist or take neutral hits from things, and if you're taking special attacks, the Assault Vest can do a lot of work. Then we have the Choice Scarf and the Choice Band by extension, depending on if you need the speed or you want the immediate power. Band or Scarf is really solid. I think that if you're running a Choice Scarf set, running an Ad Nature makes more sense. If you're running a Choice Band set, running a Jolly set makes more sense, unless you really want the extra damage output from the Band with the Ad Nature on a Pokemon with 145 base attack. Moving on now, we talk about some sets for this Pokemon, starting off with the Heavy Duty Boots set on this Pokemon, running the Terra type Electric with Dragon Dance, Terra Blast, Earthquake, and Icicle Spear. Having access to Terra Blast Electric, I should say, with Icicle Spear is very valuable. On top of that, you have the Earthquake to hit the Electric type Pokemon that are resisting the Electric type attacks and that are not weak to the Ice type attacks, so very valuable there. On top of that, it is able to hit Pokemon like something like, I don't know, a Magnezone, which is able to resist the combination of your Volt Beam coverage. We then have the Baxcalibur with the Life Orb set. I do like Life Orb a lot, especially on the Dragon Dance set, but this time we're running Glaive Rush over the Terra Blast. The Terra type doesn't really matter on this one too much, but I think Dragon makes some sense. We then have the Assault Vest set. I think that Ghost is really good on this one over here as your Terra type because it gives you the immunity to fighting types, which are one of the bigger weaknesses that Ghost types are, or that Ice types are going to have on the physical side, I should say. We have Ice Shard here as our 4th attacking move, paired with the same 3 moves as before: Glaive Rush, Icicle Crash, or Ice Spear, whichever one you want, and Earthquake. We then finally have the Choice Bandit set, again with Glaive Rush, Ice Shard, Icicle Spear, and Earthquake. And this one here, I'm going to be running a Jolly Nature. Really, really solid options here. This Pokemon can do a lot of good things, all on the physical offensive side. Just wish his typing was a smidge better. That's the issue. Moving on though to some predictions. Where will this Pokemon fall in the competitive metagame? I think this Pokemon is going to be in the OU tier. It is crazy. It's a pseudo-legendary Pokemon. Not many pseudos fall to UU and below, unless you're like, I don't know, Hydreigon, basically, in the past few generations. But either way, this Pokemon is not 4 times weak to fairy types like Hydra is, and it can power through a lot of different things. And with Terra Blast Electric, it can just Bolt Beam through basically everything, which is amazing. It also has Dragon Dance, which is really going to get it up pretty freely because it can't be Will-O-Wisp. Super, super valuable. And I do think the support it gets from Hazard is incredibly important on a team. Moving on to VGC, I think this Pokemon is going to need a lot of support from your teammates in the form of either Trick Room if you're running a very slow team, or in the form of Tailwind, which I think is even a bit better than the Trick Room, because even though it's not lasting as long, but the fact that you're more fast than you are slow is a big advantage for a Pokemon like the Baxcalibur. I do think that this Pokemon is going to not be used unless it's on the Trick Room or Tailwind team, so just be ready for that because it is lacking in that general speed stat overall. It kind of falls smack in the middle, which is not really what you want. Then for Draft League, on a 17 to 18 point scale, this Pokemon is going to be around 14 or 15 points. In general, this Pokemon is kind of cracked. I think actually you can make an argument for 13 to 15 points, but 14 to 15 is what I'm going to stick with here. Ice Dragon, amazing offensive typing, able to break through basically everything but steel types, and you can definitely break through steel types with either the body press you have access to or the fighting moves you have, and of course the Earthquake, and you do have Terastalizing as well if you absolutely need to. Dragon Dance is great. It's kind of a status absorber for, well, one type, which is nice. And really importantly in Draft League as well is that its speed stat is not a hindrance at all, because you're able to build your team around the speed stat of your opponent's Pokemon to make sure you don't over invest in your speed stat on a Pokemon like Baxcalibur. And that's all I've got for you guys today on Baxcalibur. If you guys enjoyed the video, then make sure to leave a like on the video and help us reach our like goal of 100 likes on today's content. Also be sure to comment your thoughts on Baxcalibur down in the comments below and let me know which Pokemon you want to see me cover next. I'd also appreciate if you guys subscribe to the channel. We have about 85% of people who watch these videos are not subscribed. So if you guys help us subscribe, we'll definitely crush our end of year goal of 3,000 subscribers. But guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I want to give a big shout out to our YouTube channel members. Our level 1s are going to be Liv, Eric, Zeke, Texasman. Our level 2 is Tone, and our level 3 is Sully. They all went the extra mile by supporting the channel financially, and I really do appreciate their support. I also once again want to give a big thank you to Tiger for helping me out with the script today, and I want to thank you guys as well for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys all tomorrow.